Good evening, everyone. This is the preparing salt exercise continuation. Uh, I discussed the first four questions from this exercise in the last video. Question 5, barium carbonate is insoluble salt. Aqueous sodium carbonate is added to barium nitrate. So how insoluble salts are prepared? Insoluble salts are prepared by ionic precipitation. So we mix aqueous sodium carbonate to aqueous barium nitrate. Like two salt solutions are mixed together. So what is the formula for sodium carbonate? Because sodium is Na, which is +1, and carbonate is CO3 -2. So the formula for sodium carbonate will be Na2CO3. Mixed with barium nitrate, barium is a group 2, so it is +2, and nitrate is NO3 with a charge -1. So barium nitrate will be BaNO3 in a bracket 2. When they mix with each other, the barium will take position of sodium, and sodium take position of barium. So barium will come with carbonate, and barium is +2 and carbonate is -2. So the formula will be BaCO3 plus sodium nitrate. Sodium is +1 and nitrate ion is valency -1. So it will be NaNO3. When we have to balance the equation, we start balancing with oxygen, followed by hydrogen, and then any other element. So 3 multiplied by 2, 6, plus 3, 9 are there. So we need 9 oxygen. So if I put 2 here, that will make 2 multiplied by 3, 6, plus 3, 9. And then when I balance oxygen, rest all the elements are balanced. Then describe how a pure sample of a barium carbonate could be obtained. As you can see, the ratio between them is 1:1. So we should mix the equal amount or equal volume of the two solutions. So we'll mix the two solutions in equal volume. Or you can specify mix sodium carbonate with barium nitrate solution. As a result, when we mix them together, it will form a precipitate. So we will filter to remove the precipitate. And then we can wash the precipitate with distilled water. And at the last, we can dry. So these are the steps we will follow to obtain the pure and dry crystals of barium carbonate by ionic precipitation. In question 6, dilute sulfuric acid is used to make a salt known as sulfate. A method consists of 3 steps to make a zinc sulfate. So from zinc carbonate, if zinc carbonate mixed with sulfuric acid gives zinc sulfate, plus carbon dioxide plus water will be there. We add an excess of zinc carbonate to 20 cm cube of 0.4 mol per dm cubes dilute sulfuric acid. So excess means like more than enough. Initially, we were having sulfuric acid, H2SO4, and to this sulfuric acid, we add zinc carbonate. When we add zinc carbonate, initially the zinc will react, zinc carbonate react, but we add excess of zinc carbonate. So the moment we add excess, all of this zinc, this sulfuric acid has turned into zinc sulfate solution. And there will be unreacted, zinc carbonate will be left as unreacted. We filter the mixture. Why we filter the mixture? To remove an excess of zinc carbonate. Then we heat the filtrate until we reach a point of saturated solution form, and then we allow to cool. Name a suitable piece of apparatus to measure 20 cm cube. If you want to accurately measure 25 cm cube, it's pipette. Or like if it was 20.0, then it will be burette. But here it's 20. Like we don't need an exact volume, like approximate volume. So for that, we can use a measuring cylinder. So measuring cylinder can be used to observation that when this reaction is completed, that the reaction is completed in step. So what will be the two observation when this reaction? So there will be no more bubbles or fizz, or the solid does not dissolve or react. There will be no fizzing or bubbles, and the solid does not dissolve. Then why it is important to add an excess of zinc carbonate in step 1? The main reason is that to make sure all the acid is used up. So why we add excess of zinc carbonate? So that all the acid will be used up. What is meant by the term saturated solution? So solution which contain maximum amount of solute at a given temperature. The equation for a reaction is shown. Complete the equation. So zinc carbonate was in solid. Acids are always aqueous. Zinc sulfate, most sulfates are soluble except barium, calcium, and lead. So this will be aqueous. And we are preparing, like the crystallization is a technique which is used to prepare soluble salts. So that's why it is aqueous. Name another zinc compound that could be used to make zinc sulfate from sulfuric acid. So here we were using zinc carbonate was reacting with sulfuric acid to give zinc sulfate plus carbon dioxide plus water. What else we can do? We can, instead of zinc carbonate, we can use zinc oxide, we can use zinc hydroxide, we can even use a zinc metal. So you can mention zinc oxide. So this is why this method would not work to make barium sulfate, because barium sulfate is an insoluble salt. Most sulfates are soluble except barium, calcium, and lead. So sulfate is insoluble. That's why you cannot produce these insoluble salt by crystallization. And when barium carbonate react with sulfuric acid, it gives barium sulfate. So there will be two solids. One is barium carbonate, another one is barium sulfate. That's why we cannot use this technique. In question 7, the titration has been completed and the conical flask contain aqueous solution of potassium sulfate and some dissolved indicate. Describe how to prepare a pure dry sample of potassium sulfate from new solution of dilute sulfuric acid and aqueous potassium hydroxide. So this is an acid-base reaction. In acid-base reaction, we use titration. So what we will do, we will repeat this experiment without indicator. Like we will record the volume of acid and alkali used. In the experiment, and then we'll repeat the procedure with the same volume without indicator. And then you need a salt, so we will use crystallization, and you have to mention the point of crystallization like heat and concentrate, then cool, filter, and dry. All the points you should mention. There are three methods of preparing salt. Method A, we use a burette as an indicator. Method B, we mix two solutions. So this is used to prepare, this technique is used to prepare insoluble salt when we mix the two solutions together. This A is used when indicators are used, and it means it is used to make a soluble salt by reaction of acid and alkali. And here method C, we use base or metal. So this method is also making a soluble salt, but by reacting a solid with aqueous substance, which is a acid. For each of the preparation, choose one of the method, name additional reagent, and then write or complete the equation. So we want to prepare soluble salt. So if you want to prepare soluble salt, it cannot be B, because B is for insoluble salt. So either A can be an answer, B, or C can be an answer. But we want to prepare soluble salt zinc sulfate from insoluble base, like from solid. So if you want to prepare soluble salt from solid, so which technique we'll use? We'll use method C. So method C must be used. And what are the reagent? We have zinc oxide. So because I want zinc sulfate, whenever we want a sulfate salt, so zinc oxide is there. The zinc oxide is not that it's already there with us. So what else we need? We need a sulfuric acid. So the reagent here will be a sulfuric acid, because sulfuric acid plus zinc oxide gives zinc sulfate plus water. And a word equation. So zinc oxide plus sulfuric acid will give zinc sulfate plus water. That's the word equation. So why we choose method C? Because in a method C, we add excess of a base or a metal. So metal oxide, like insoluble base is there, not an alkali. If alkali was added, it means we have to use an indicator. Then the soluble salt, again, we are preparing a soluble salt from soluble base. So soluble base, it means this should be method A, because method A required a soluble salt, like method A and method C can produce soluble salt. One is by mixing a solid with acid. Another one is by mixing the two acid and alkali aqueous solutions by using indicator. So method A, and the reagent chemical, we want to prepare potassium chloride. We have potassium hydroxide. So what I should mix, because we want to produce a chloride salt, so we should have which acid? We should have hydrochloric acid. So which reagent is needed? That's hydrochloric acid. And then equation, potassium hydroxide KOH plus hydrochloric acid HCl gives potassium chloride plus water. And the last one, we want to prepare insoluble salt. So that method B is there by mixing the two solution to obtain precipitate. So this will be method B. Then lead to iodide, we want to prepare lead to iodide from lead nitrate. So we have lead nitrate. What other salt we should add? Because we want lead iodide. So there should be an iodide salt. Normally group 1 salts are soluble. So we want soluble salt. So we can select sodium iodide. So when sodium will take position of lead, lead will take position of sodium. So it will become sodium nitrate plus lead iodide. So you can select here any metal, but better group 1, because group 1 salts are soluble. So reagent you can mention like sodium iodide. Lead nitrate is already there. So what else we need? We need sodium iodide. Then ionic equation, because lead iodide is formed, which is PbI2. So there's a lead ion and there should be two iodide ions. In question 9, sulfuric acid is a typical strong acid. Change the equation given into different format. We need a word equation first. So word equation, this one will be magnesium plus sulfuric acid gives magnesium sulfate plus hydrogen. Then change into symbolic. Lithium iodide, lithium oxide. So lithium oxide, you have to first check. Lithium is group 1 and oxygen is group 6. So lithium oxide will be Li2O. Sulfuric acid is H2SO4. Give lithium sulfate. So lithium is group 1 plus 1 and sulfate is minus 2. So it will form Li2SO4 plus water, which is H2O. Change the ionic equation into symbolic equation. So like copper oxide is there. H plus ion means like acid is there. So sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Because these are all reactions of sulfuric acid. Gives what? It will give copper sulfate plus water. Then change into word equation, sodium carbonate plus sulfuric acid gives sodium sulfate. So as a result, it will produce sodium sulfate plus carbon dioxide plus water will be there as one of the products. When sulfuric acid dissolve in water, the following reaction take place. Why water is behaving like a base? The definition of the bases are proton acceptor. Don't say hydrogen ion, use the term proton or H plus because it accepts. Sulfuric acid is a strong acid, ethanoic is a weak. Explain the difference between strong and weak acids. Strong acids, they ionize completely, or weak acids, they ionize partially. Then in question 10, three ways of making salts are there. Titration, which is used reaction between acid and alkali. Neutralization, in which we use like metal oxide or metal carbonate or even a metal to react with acid to give salt and water. And precipitation is when two soluble salts are mixed together. That is a precipitation. Titration, in titration, acid mixed with an alkali. So sodium nitrate. So which acid I should use? Because I want nitrate, so it should be nitric acid. And because titration, we use acid with an alkali. So here reagent 2 should be an alkali for this one. So which alkali or hydroxide basically? So it should be sodium hydroxide. Neutralization, nitric acid, like in neutralization, we use either insoluble base like metal oxide or metal carbonate. So zinc nitric acid is there, and we have copper nitrate is produced as a product. So it should be copper oxide, because when copper oxide react with nitric acid, give copper nitrate plus water. Precipitation means we mix two salt solution. So one of the salt should be a silver salt, another salt should be a chloride salt. So it should be all nitrates are soluble. So the first salt should be nitrate, silver nitrate. And the second salt should be sodium chloride. Like group 1, sodium chloride plus silver nitrate. As a result, it will produce silver 1 chloride. Sulfuric acid plus zinc carbonate. Which salt will be produced? Sulfuric acid, it will produce zinc sulfate. Then write ionic equation for silver 1 chloride is formed. So it means the oxidation number or a valency of silver. So AgCl is formed. What are the ions? It will be a silver ion and it will be chloride ion. So aqueous, and then solid. Zinc carbonate plus sulfuric acid gives zinc sulfate, ZnSO4 plus CO2 plus H2O. And then balance the equation. 7 are there. It's already balanced. You don't have to. Then paper 6 questions are there along with the answer key related to preparation of the salts. So this was an exercise how we can prepare the salts, soluble and insoluble salts.